Good morning. You're welcome to Business Time. My name is Kemini Amanor. In this episode, we want to have a conversation on the economy, especially with a few weeks more to the elections following the expenditure in advance of a preparation that was laid in Parliament over the week. We'll also want to project into what the first few months of 2017 would look like. You don't want to miss that conversation. Also in this program, we'll bring you the business news roundup and commodities and forex market, as well as your favorite investment tips with David Wacom. My name is Kemini Amano. We'll be right back.
Uncle, please, can I check my number?
Okay. Wow! Gimme! You have won the ultimate prize, a brand new car.
What? A car?
Yes, a car, not a toy car. This is the key to your car. Wait, call your daddy.
Okay.
All right. So you see, he has won a car, but there are 4 more cars to be won, plus other amazing prizes and many more in the Giant Malt Open and Win promotion from July to October 2016. Just buy a can of Giant Malt, open a lid, and the number you find under it, voila, you can go to any Romani distributor or Royal Boat depots to redeem your prizes instantly. Giant Malt Open and Win promotion. Onapo, terms and conditions apply.
You're welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us here on Business Time. First on the program, we'll bring you news that made rounds over the week as far as business is concerned.
Mobile telecom operators in the country have offered to assist financial institutions to identify, manage and mitigate credit risk using borrowers' consumption pattern of telecom services. The Chief Executive Officer of MTN Ghana, Ebenezer Chumasante, explained that telcos can help especially the banks to determine the credit worthiness of borrowers using data from customers' airtime purchase patterns over a period.
Our guest today on the program is Dr. Laud Mensah. He is with the University of Ghana Business School. We want to look at the election time and spending. We'll start off from where government decides to go to Parliament and revoke Article 180, where the President gives his expenditure in advance of a preparation. We're trying to understand what that jargon is, which has been thrown about since Thursday. The guest today is Dr. Laud Mensah. Like I told you earlier, he's here with us in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us here.
Thank you, Kemini, to be on your set.
Absolutely. Pleasure having you here. Now, under what circumstance can we go to Parliament and then, present our expenditure ahead of a preparation?
Well, if you look at economic management, generally, you're managing economy, you have to look at the future purposefully. And in the end, looking at the future and placing something down serves as a guide, where at the end of the day, every country has, revenue generation line, at the same time, expenditure line. So if you put down your projected revenues, at the same time, your expenditure, that's more or less the budget that we've been talking about, and it's more or less planning, okay? Because if you don't plan, really you might have some monies, and ideally you might not know how to use the money. So the essence of the budget is to have something down that will serve as a benchmark, and in the end serve as a guide that if you are going off track in the future, you will get to know it. So that's why I think it has been made in the Constitution as a provision. To be an economic manager of this country, you go to the Parliament that's the representative of the people. You can't go to house to tell them exactly what you intend to do, and these are the possible revenue that you expect, and you want to place one school here, that school here. And in the end, you go to Parliament, which is the representative of the people, to present to them that, hey, Ghana, this is what I plan to do. These are the likely revenue that I expect from this source, from that source, from this source. And look at the possible things that can allow you to deviate from that projection. Then I always say that as a manager, you know, if I'm assessing a manager's performance, because we project into the future, and in the end, we realize the future. So if you ask me how I can assess the performance of the economic manager, in our case, is the finance minister, I would say that how far is the realization of his projections from, you know, what he forecasted.
Okay.
Then in that case, how close is that? The closer it is, the better he is to manage the country.
Now, over the week, one of the things that were made clear, especially from the government side, was the fact that the finance minister was not going to Parliament to present a budget, but wanted to have approval for some spending first quarter of 2017. How different are these two elements, the budgets and what the finance minister laid in Parliament on Thursday?
Well, there's a complete different line altogether, where you've specified an amount that you need that needs to be approved before, you know, you go to Parliament to read the budget. The budget itself is a projection. But if you go on to be specific, that means you've identified what you need the money for, and in the end, you intend approval for it to be used. Okay. Now, 2017, we are in a transition. I'm not saying a different government will come over or a government will take over.
Whatever it is, it's
whatever
some form of transition.
It's still a transition from one administration to the other. Okay, it could be the incumbent still staying or another government taking over. So if you want approval from Parliament before kind of a specific amount, it's more or less pushing Parliament to say that, fine, you know the outcome of whatever will transpire. It could be that you might not be at the helms of affairs, but in the end, you see, you've identified a project that you think the project will be worthy of execution for the nation. You know, we have to remember in Ghana, when a project is being executed, it is not a political party's mandate to give us a project. Administratively, this country needs to invest. This country needs to move on economically, be it one political party or the other. So if the finance minister has identified, you know, and asking for approval for 2017, then I think he has identified a project that he thinks is a daring in need of. I'm not privy to that project anyway. You are not telling me. But I'm using my technical know-how to assume what presupposed to be happening on the ground. So I presume that he's identified something that Ghanaians really need, you know, the economy needs, and in the end he seeks approval from the people's representative, and in that will be. So I would say that that's completely different from budget. The budget needs to be purely forecasting of revenue, forecasting of what expenditure.
One of the reasons we were given for why the finance minister will want to seek approval for spending in the first quarter of 2016 ahead of proper appropriation, it's because it's an election year. We are fearing election spending, as we have seen in election years past. Is this a justifiable reason to revoke Article 180 of the 1992 Constitution?
I don't think that's a justifiable reason. You know, elections, we've been through elections. We have seasonalities in terms of election spending. If you look at the trends, you know, we have years in election that our budget blows up as a result of how projects are being driven by political promises. And we shouldn't have a problem because remember, we're a country, we saw the struggle in our finances. Then we went to IMF, right? IMF came in, and IMF, one of the main targets was to ensure that we don't overspend during election years. So when the IMF program, we saw that it was ending somewhere 2017, and the election year is part of it. We're all happy. Trust me, I was happy because it will be like more or less a teacher looking on you to do the right thing.
But do you think government is capable of doing the right thing? Well,
I mean, at least you could see the tone down. I mean, if you look at the spending compared to earlier years of election, it's better this year compared to previous years.
How better is spending this year than 4 years ago?
At least we see moderation in terms of project allocations, and most of the projects are more or less continuity. They are not projects that you could see government starting up because it's getting to election. Most of them are continuous projects that are ongoing, and I think we should give credit to that. And even the IMF testified to that we've been able to consolidate our fiscal space. But I always say that consolidating just the fiscal space alone is not enough for this country. I mean, you can do all the monetary policy analysis, you can control all your, what do you call it, your fiscal space, ensure that you complement monetary policy with fiscal policy. But if you don't do the right thing, which I call, quality spending, at the end of the day, you might end up, going back to square one and might think, the policies are not working. So
by that, can we then say that we shouldn't expect to see the excesses of election year spending going into end of the year itself and then 2017?
Oh yes, of course. I mean, we shouldn't have expected that, because if we realize that, then what's the essence of the presence of the IMF? Okay, already we're saying that the government rushed in going to IMF. So we expect that the presence of the IMF will have impact on excess spending. Yes.
But then there is also the issue of inflation.
Yes.
A lot of people do not think that it will close the year at 13.5 as the IMF is predicting. And again, people may be attributing it to election year spending. Why do you sit on that?
Well, I see inflation not to be coming down as we speak now. I think I spoke to one of my technocrats at Bank of Ghana. He's my mate, actually. And he mentioned that they are targeting single-digit inflation by the middle of next year. I said, my brother, you are lying. This inflation will not, Now, even if you are not looking at externality influencing, the inflation, external influence on the inflation, let's look at the dynamics of the inflation itself. How we got to that, that peak where we find ourselves now, and then the bottom where we were, around 10 and all those. How many years did it take us to get there? And let me tell you, for inflation to come down, you need more efforts than for inflation to go up. Absolutely. Because to destroy an economy is easy. And upwards rising of inflation is more or less destroying an economy. Destroying is very, very easy to destroy an economy. But how to rebuild the economy, it takes time.
But then, Doc, for me, it's difficult for me to reconcile these two. I feel like although we may be reducing election year spending, we are not feeling the effect on our currency. We are not feeling the effect on inflation. It's like we're having a reverse.
That's a very good question to ask. But then I will, you see, the whole financial system that we have, we've lost track of it. Let me tell you, the informal sector is huge. If you talk about inflation, you cannot dissociate that from the money being supplied, circulated in the economy. Now, the monies that are circulating in the economy, the informal sector is not accounted for. It's not accounted for. I remember when somebody said he invested about 600,000 Ghana in DKM, right? And now he's receiving about 35. Then I asked myself, so 600,000 Ghana is with somebody sitting at Techiman, right?
A whole lot of money.
Did we account for this thing in the circulation of currency? Okay. Before he got into DKM, now DKM has been liquidated. I don't want to go there. If you look at inflation, why we are not able to control inflation, I would say that there are a lot of free monies in the system. Monies that people get it and they don't work for it. You understand? Monies that don't go through the financial system for people to get it. If you are paying me, it goes through the account, isn't it? Right. Monies that people just, take, Ghana must go back and then go and pick them. Okay? That's one side of it. And then also importers, they're not helping the situation. Because if you look at a recent report on inflation that came out, import goods are causing the problem. Imported goods, including petroleum.
Absolutely.
You understand? So sometimes we might be blaming it on the system, the management of the system. But we, the individuals, also plays a role. Okay? The businesses that are important. And they've seen that Ghanaians can buy at any price, as far as especially if it's in Accra. And Accra recorded the highest of all the inflation, because this is where the free money is, the freebies are. People are ready to buy at any price because they didn't struggle to get the money.
Now, if you missed the first part of the conversation, there's a second part coming up here on the program, so don't go away.
Uncle, please, can I check my number?
Okay. Wow, Gimme, you have won the ultimate prize, a brand new car.
What? A car?
Yes, a car, not a toy car. This is the key to your car. Wait, call your daddy.
Okay.
All right. So you see, he has won a car, but there are 4 more cars to be won, plus other amazing prizes and many more in the Giant Malt Open and Win promotion from July to October 2016. Just buy a can of Giant Malt, open a lid, and the number you find under it, voila, you can go to any Romani distributor or Royal Boat depots to redeem your prizes instantly. Giant Malt Open and Win promotion. Onapo, terms and conditions apply.
You're welcome back to Business Time. In this episode, we are discussing the elections and how spending during this period could have effect on the general health of our economy. We want to transfer that into the first few months of 2017, that fiscal year, and try and project what it could look like